I am super excited today. Ralph Roballey is a local legend. You know, you have such an interesting background and how you grew up, what the environment was like then, your parents, how they met, being raised, you know, you and your brother in the East End of Bridgeport. I want to talk about you getting into the real estate business and how you found yourself there. We could even discuss some deals that you've done, interesting ones, talk about your family life. And then some of the stuff where you and me have talked before is where we've spent hours on Friday nights about life, what's important, advice for young people entering the business, for young men growing up, becoming of age, what's important. So I want to touch on a little bit of all that today.
I don't know where to start.
Well, let's start with growing up in the East End of Bridgeport.
Well,
when did you grow up and what was it like then?
The East End of Bridgeport was a magnificent place to live, to grow up.
Yep.
They had 2 movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
They had candy shops, a butcher shop. Everybody had a shop. They had one barber on Stratford Avenue that everybody went to.
Yep.
It was a very close-knit community, and it was a great place to grow up, and everybody knew everybody. There were no cell phones, no fucking, there was none of that shit, and we grew up in the streets because nobody even had a backyard. So nobody had any money, so we were all broke, but we didn't know it at the time, you know. And we used to go down to Lordship Bluffs, walk all the way and go skinny dipping because we didn't even have bathing suits.
Wow.
So I grew up at a time in this country was substantially different than it is today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You grew up what year? What years? The 50s?
Well, I was born in 38.
Yep.
So in the 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Post-World War II era.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what you explain is a lot different than today with like the East End of Bridgeport.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, crazy.
Unbelievable.
Sounds like a great place to grow up.
It was, listen, one of the founders of the Mill River Country Club was John Riccio.
Okay.
He had a pharmacy, a little pharmacy.
Yeah.
Right on Connecticut Avenue and Central Avenue, right on the East End of Bridgeport.
So a lot of small businesses, a lot of...
There was no such thing as a Stop and Shop.
Yeah.
Or any of that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
The biggest development of the country, in my opinion, we kind of exploited it a little bit, was Eisenhower was the president.
Yeah.
And he signed into law the interstate commerce, the interstate highway system, and at the time they were building the Connecticut Thruway, and I worked on it. Tommy DeLucia worked on it.
No way.
Tommy DeLucia didn't know anything about. I should talk about Tommy. He didn't know anything about carpentry or anything, but they needed carpenters so bad. They gave him he was a member of the Carpenters Union and everything. He was working on the Connecticut Thruway.
No, but didn't know anything about carpentry.
He learned in a hurry. Now he's unbelievable as a carpenter.
That is awesome.
He's really unbelievable. He got his start on the Connecticut Thruway.
Wow.
Well, the Connecticut Thruway opened up the whole country. The Thruway, the interstate, opened up the whole country.
This is the Merritt Parkway.
No.
I-90.
This is I-95.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So let's take a step back. So dad, immigrant from Albania.
Yeah.
Mom is a immigrant from Italy.
Yeah.
How do they meet?
At the Pleasure Beach Ballroom.
No way.
First of all, when you went out on a Saturday night, everybody had to get dressed up, men's suit and tie.
No way.
And they went dancing. People don't go dancing today.
No.
It's a good thing, because I don't know how to dance. You assholes certainly don't know how to dance.
You got that right.
I mean, if a girl came up to you and she wanted to dance the foxtrot, you knew what the fuck to talk about. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
That's true.
Anyway.
Yeah.
there were dance halls. In New York, it was unbelievable. I can't remember the names. You know, my age, my memory is not good. You know, but that's where they met.
Wow. How old were they at the time?
Geez, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not good with
age.
I'm really not good at it.
Yeah.
Anyway, they got married and
Yep.
all of that, and we wound up
Settling down in Bridgeport.
eventually. I actually lived on Stratford Avenue in Stratford, and then we moved to Bridgeport.
Oh.
When I was a very young kid. You
Yep.
know.
Dad was a waiter. Where was he a waiter?
My father was a waiter at there were big name places, you know, and he was a waiter. And my mother worked at the American chain making razor blades.
No way. Where was that? What town?
That was the East End of Bridgeport.
Wow. So, yeah, manufacturing, I forgot, used to be a big thing in Bridgeport.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And in the summertime, we used to go down Union Avenue on the east end of Bridgeport, down Union Avenue there was the trains used to. There was a big train depot down there, you know. And in the summertime, we used to break into the cars there, and we used to steal watermelons. And the watermelons in those days, it was not a fuck around watermelon, you know, that you get at Stop and Shop. The watermelon in those days was this big.
The real deal.
It was tough to carry them, you know. But when the guards were chasing us, I mean, it was a son of a bitch. But anyway, and they were great. The watermelons were great.
Unbelievable. What was the place Dad was a waiter?
He was a waiter at the Algonquin Club.
The Algonquin Club, yeah.
And he was a waiter at the Halfway House in Stamford.
Mm-hmm.
These were, there was no middle class.
Yeah, okay.
It was the working class poor and the rich.
Mm.
There was no working class. There was no middle class.
Yeah.
And so if you went to one of those places, you had to have money,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
So your dad must have met a lot of people that were well off working there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever go growing up to those places or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. First of all, I went in the Army when I was 16.
Mm.
I was kind of run away from home, you know.
No way. I thought you had to be 18. Was it a rule back then, or did you say you were 18?
Well, you needed to be 17 if your parents signed for you. Well, I lied about my age and my name. I used my brother's name.
No way.
Who was a year older than me. I went in the Army.
Oh, my gosh.
I had my mother sign.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your brother Tommy.
Yeah, and then like an asshole, he went to get his draft card when he turned 18. They said, the fuck you need a draft card for? You're already in the Army. So that blew the lid off of it. You know?
That is great.
You know.
But you ended up in the Navy at one point, right?
Yeah, I originally went in the Army. I went to basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey. Then I went to the 3rd Army, the 11th Airborne Division. I was a parachute rigger.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long were you in the Army for?
A year.
Okay. And the Navy was?
4 years.
You said the Navy was one of the best organizations you were ever a part of.
I said to you, the Navy was the finest organization I was ever associated with.
Wow. Why is it? Was it the camaraderie?
I really can't define it.
Okay.
Except that I got promoted pretty quick. I was in an emergency service rating. I traveled all over the world. It was just great.
Yeah.
You know, if I had any brains, I would have stayed in. Frankly, I tell you, if I got myself an education,
Yep.
and I got commissioned into the Navy, I probably would have stayed in. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, a couple things. You said the one thing that always nags you is you didn't get an education.
yeah.
Was there a reason for that? Why you didn't get it or why it nags at you?
Very few kids on the east end of Bridgeport
Yeah.
wound up going to college.
Mm-hmm.
for 100 million reasons.
Yeah.
I was never nurtured by my father. I think that was one of the reasons there's probably 1,000, but I probably need a psychiatrist to figure it all out. But I mean, I never did. I quit school.
Yep.
And I went in the Army, which is a great education.
Yeah.
The Navy was a profound education. What happened to me in the service, especially the Navy, is they gave me a series of tests. And when it was over with, they said, whatever you want to do, tell us. And,
Yeah.
and which suggested to me that I had my aptitude was such that I had the ability to learn, so that if I did get an education, you know what I mean, it would have been great. Certainly, when I wound up in business, if I had some kind of business education, I would have never made the horrifying mistakes I made in business, which cost me dearly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, growing up before the Army, you worked a lot of jobs. You said you had multiple jobs at any point in time, right?
Well, back in World War II,
Yep.
they were building housing around Bridgeport with no basements. The reason for it was that because of the defense effort, there wasn't any cement available. So I went to work for an outfit where we hand dug underneath these houses to bring furnaces in to heat these houses. So I frankly kind of dug ditches for a while. Look, all the guys I grew up, we all did unbelievable things to earn a living.
Yeah.
Everybody. I used to have a paper route when I was 13 years old, 150 customers. I used to make $15 a week. We were all worried about my mother. We wanted to take care of my mother. I used to make $15 a week, give her 14 and keep $1, type of. So everybody in all the families, I came from a generation where you took care of your parents.
Yeah.
Then you got married and you took care of your family.
Yep.
So I was in an enabling generation where we tried to take care of everybody.
Yeah.
You're in a generation where every fucking buddy's taking care of you. You understand me? You got the world by the balls, and the problem is you don't know it. You think this is normal. Do you understand? You think this is normal. I came from a generation where you put a quarter in a cigarette machine for a pack of Lucky Strikes, and the Lucky Strikes came out with 3 cents in the cellophane because the cigarettes were only 22 cents.
Yeah.
I used to buy a carton of cigarettes in the Navy for $1.
Jesus.
What is a carton today? Costs $100, right?
$14 probably. Oh, a carton. Yeah, pack's 14. Yeah, a carton's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, I'm down at Bearsley Park.
Yep.
And keep something in mind, we had to walk all of these places. Nobody had any cars and shit, I mean. So I get introduced to this girl.
How old are you at the time?
14. And when I was 14, there wasn't a fucking thing I didn't know. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
I knew everything. So I get introduced to this girl. I go to say hello to her, I can't even breathe. I can't even breathe. It has never left me to this day. She eventually became my wife, So what I'm saying is, if you get married and your kid comes home and says, gee, Dad, he's 14. He says, gee, Dad, I fell in love. You beat the shit out of him. You understand? You beat the shit out of him. And but it happens,
Yeah.
Or at least it happened to me.
Yeah.
And then she might have been the reason why, because she really didn't care for me as much as I was out of my mind.
Yeah.
So I went in the Army and then the Navy and so on and so forth. Then when I got out, we met up and so on and so forth. I wound up getting married, and I lost her 18 years ago
Yep.
to brain cancer.
What was your wife's first name?
Eleanor.
Eleanor.
I lost her to brain cancer, and I have never dated. I mean, I have women friends and stuff, but I've never dated. You know. Yeah.
You guys met at 14, but you weren't together because you went to the Army and Navy.
We were. I wanted her in my life somehow or some. We became like brother and sister.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And after I got out of I was away for 5 or 6 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
You know.
And you guys had a couple kids, right? 2 girls?
She had 3 children.
Yep.
When we got married, we never had any. She had some problems where she couldn't have any more. She wanted to have more children with me, but it never happened. And the kids are raised now.
Yeah.
And whatever I got, they're going to grab.
Yeah. So you were working a lot of jobs. You go to the Navy or the Army, then the Navy. You're traveling a ton. What were some of the best places you visited when you were in the Navy?
One of my favorite places was Jacksonville, Florida, Jacksonville Naval Air Station. I was on the campus of the University of Oklahoma at a naval installation for schooling. Oklahoma was great.
Yep.
I was in Gibraltar. All through the Mediterranean, Spain, Greece, Italy, Turkey, Crete, Cyprus. You named a place in the Mediterranean, I was there.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That must have been awesome. I mean, like for a kid that grew up in the east end of Bridgeport to be able to join the Navy and travel and see all the world.
Yeah.
Without having to pay for it.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, And then, we got emergency orders to go to the Middle East. Oh, what you see is going on now.
Yeah.
We usually fuck up the long game, but in this case, there was really nothing we could do because we pulled in, we got emergency orders. Eisenhower was the president. To go into Beirut, Lebanon. So we took over the airport. We had a no-fly zone. There was insurgents coming in from Syria trying to overthrow a Christian government in Lebanon.
Yep.
We ended that. I'm not going to get into detail.
Yeah.
And then we pulled out. Some years later, because we had a contingency Marines in there, some suicide bomber went in there with a car full of explosives. He blew the barracks up and killed 250 Marines in one shot.
250?
Yeah, this shit's been going on for fucking a long, long time.
Wow.
250? So 250 Marines in the barracks. At night, they were all sleeping.
Oh, my gosh, yep.
So now what's going on now, the Muslim government who sympathizes with Hezbollah is actually the government at odds with Israel. They're fighting, they're sending rockets into Israel now. And the West Bank, the Gaza Strip and all of what's going on, it started 50, 60 years ago.
Wow.
And the hatred for the Jewish community worldwide hasn't stopped since Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Crazy.
And I have a feeling about it if you want to know what it is.
Money related?
What?
Money related?
No, I mean, I have a feeling why the Jews are so hated.
Oh.
In my opinion, if you read Old Testament scripture, they were the chosen people of God Almighty. First, you have to have a certain giving here.
Yeah.
If you believe that God exists, and therefore this old, let's say, forget the New Testament, where I'm a Christian, a devout Christian.
Yeah.
In the Old Testament, God created the world. You have to. No one knows.
Yeah.
You have to have faith.
Yeah.
Because if you will believe in God and that He created this world,
Yeah.
He took the 12 tribes of Judea out of Egypt after 400 years of slavery.
Yeah.
He brought them in to cross the Jordan River, and He gave them that land, that sacred land, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't give a fuck how many fucking Muslims all over the world
Yeah.
want to fight the Jews and hate the Jews because they're God's chosen people, in my view. They're wasting their fucking time.
Yeah.
Because after it's all said and done, Israel will stand.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very interesting. I mean, when you have something to fight for, it's.
God in Scripture is saying this is the land of milk and honey. He used the term. I'm giving it to you, the 12 tribes of Judea. This is your land.
Yep.
Now, did the Jews of that day and the Jewish community, did they aggravate the good Lord 1,000,000 times? Absolutely.
Yeah.
He wanted them to take a left and they took a right? Absolutely.
Yep.
But did He ever turn His back on them? Absolutely not. Those are His people.
Gotcha.
You want to go fight them?
Yeah.
I'm not interested in fighting. I love them.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, well,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I love how we were talking about your time traveling the Mediterranean, or and seeing. Listen, that's a story of how you got to see a lot of things. You were in Beirut at one point. You saw firsthand what happened, and now connecting to the dots today, which is crazy. So that was awesome about your time in the Navy. You leave the Navy, you go and start working at AFCO in Stratford, right? What were you doing there? You were an engineer?
I was in quality control.
Yeah.
I should have never taken the job.
Why not?
Because once you go into an outfit, let's say Sikorsky, I went to Sikorsky.
Yeah.
First, I was a checked out flight deck troubleshooter. I was a crewman on, I was in a squadron of aircraft, and I was a radar operator as a crewman. And I was with a flight crew, and on and on and on. But I was a checked out flight deck troubleshooter. So that when we were ready to launch and the ship turned into the wind, it was very vulnerable. Because, all that a submarine had to know was that what direction the wind was blowing, and they would know when you started flight deck operations which way the ship was going to go.
Gotcha.
Okay, so it's very vulnerable. So
you take the job at AFCO.
So all the planes are raring to go, and one of them's got a problem. They call for an electrician. They call for electronic. Okay, and you got to know what the hell you're doing. So I go to Sikorsky. I got the background. They said, "Listen," I said, "Well, I want to be a troubleshooter out on the flight deck."
Yeah.
At Sikorsky there in Stratford. They said it's going to take you 20 years working here before you get that job. So I fucked them.
You're already doing it though. You're already doing it.
Well, in the Navy, in the Armed Forces, 30 years old is an old man. In civilian life, you got to be 60 or 70 to get the kind of job you're qualified for when you're 25.
Crazy.
Understand?
Yeah.
So I go to AFCO like a damn fool. I take a job in quality control, and frankly, when the opening came of the job that I wanted, they couldn't give it to me because it was against their rules to increase somebody's pay that much. So but I stayed there for 11 years. I got involved in labor politics. I became a steward. I had. Tommy DeLucia was one of my subjects there.
No way.
It's unbelievable.
The history you two have, we'll touch on that in a bit. But it's funny. I feel like I speak to a lot of people at Mill River who work jobs that they could not stand, my dad being one of them, before going out on their own. You got into commercial real estate brokerage and then development. My dad got into the mortgage business, and it feels like a lot of guys.
Well, let me say this to you in regards to that. The greatest privilege a red-blooded American could have is the ability to go into business for himself. And if anybody doesn't take that shot, is a damn fool, in my opinion. Now, I took the shot, and there were certain areas of the business I was a damn fool at. But if I had gotten an education, I wouldn't have been. And when I got caught up in it, I was scared because I didn't know how to handle it, you know. And we're talking about going broke, because when you're an entrepreneur and you take shots, there are going to be times when you're dead wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. And what the fuck do you do about it?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't handle it well.
Gotcha.
And I went broke 3 times. The last one was so bad that I decided to make a couple of changes, which I did, which was my saving grace. You want to know what the...
I had other things I want to talk about, but that is so good. Yeah, I'd love to know.
Stop borrowing fucking money.
Gotcha.
Stop borrowing money. You need to buy something?
Yeah.
You save up until you got the dough to buy it. You want to invest in something? You save up until you got enough dough that once you step into the deal, you know, that your loan to value can't be more than 30%. Yep. And you think that's crazy because I talked to you about it. You think that's nuts.
Yeah.
But I did what you did.
Yeah.
And it don't work. Slow down.
Yeah.
Be more sure-footed. Save your money until you can do what you want. You okay?
Yeah.
I'm giving you diamonds here. I'm schooling you like a son of a bitch. I want to get fucking paid for this.
Hey, you know where the office is, where to send the invoice.
Yeah.
I don't work for a living, though, so I don't know who's going to pay it. No. Yeah, that's so interesting. I heard Bob Sinto talked about it, too. You know, commercial mortgages. Bob Sinto, the developer in Shelton. After, their 5-year balloon payments sometimes, or 10 years. Developers and investors, instead of paying down the note, will just refinance and extend the debt.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Bob Sinto went through very bad times.
Yeah.
And he's actually, now this is my view. I don't know. I know he knows who I am. I know who he is. But this is what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
If you owe the bank $1 million.
Yep.
And you don't have it, and the balloon payment's coming,
you
got a problem.
Yeah.
Well, let's say you owe the bank $200 million.
Yeah. Yep.
You understand?
Yeah.
And you don't have it.
Yeah.
They got a problem. Okay?
Yeah.
And they kept him going because they were worried about in my view, they were worried about the health of the bank.
Yeah, if he didn't pay, they'd go under.
So they kept him going, and it was the smart move. On the other hand, Arnold Peck, who's my partner and one of my dear, dear, dear friend, they forced him into bankruptcy, and they wound up taking about 20, 30 cents on a dollar, $400 million bankruptcy. If they kept him going, there was 11 banks involved. If they kept him going, they would have got made whole plus, But times got, in other words, everybody makes serious mistakes in bad times.
Yeah, interesting.
And you can make a good living in good times.
Yeah.
Well, you can get rich in bad times if you're not stretched out.
Yeah.
And you don't, because the first thing that's going to go on you is your credit card, and your credit rating.
We were sitting down, and in that night after, I go home, I'm thinking about it. Friday, we leave at 9:30, 10 o'clock. And the next day I went for a walk. I was thinking about it, and it's like, how can I position myself? I'm only 26. I had a good run in the first 3-4 years being in the mortgage business. Rates were low, refinance, bought property, definitely levered up. But like moving forward, how can we position ourselves so that moving forward, it's like we're paying down debt. We're trying and go slow. Go slow because like if you just don't want to blow up. So if I got another 50 years left in this business, how can I just slowly accumulate? And you said it. You don't need to own the whole world right this second.
Listen, we all made the mistakes. If you can hold on to your holdings right now for another 25 years, you wouldn't have to make another deal for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
The performance of real estate in this area is profound. But you're selling this piece because you want to grab these two pieces. You're a fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is move a little slower, relax.
Yep.
Get those damn mortgage payments, get them to a point where you got 30% loan to value.
Yeah.
And you're in a very strong position because when the shit hits the fan, and the shit does hit the fan.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be immune to it. And when it does, you're going to get scared. You're going to get scared. And I've been in fucking firefights. And I got scared.
Yeah.
Okay?
What do you do? Just take it day by day? How do you get through that? Because you're here and you're doing...
First of all, I wound up getting tied up with Arnold right then and there. If it wasn't for Arnold Peck, I don't know what would have happened to me. He, in the most desperate time of his life, helped me in profound ways. And together, in a collaboration with him, we did some great deals, including that CVS.
Yeah.
Which we did without a quarter. Without 10 cents. The deposit we put up to buy the property was a bad check.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that CVS deal. And before we talk about it, the one thing, to give an idea of Ralph is I'm talking to TB. He goes, Ralph Roballey has forgotten more about real estate than I will ever know.
Who were you talking to?
Terry
Blake.
Yep.
Terry Blake's very smart.
Yeah. Great
very
guy.
Smart.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Mill River, awesome guy. Now, this CVS deal, let's talk about it. How you find the deal?
I used to meet Arnold at 6 o'clock every morning over to Marriott.
In Trumbull. Yep.
And so I'm driving there, and I see the for sale sign on Hawley Lane, this property. I can't believe my eyes. And there was a lot of traffic there. I pulled over on the side of the corner of the road. I got up. I'm apologizing to the fucking traffic. I ripped the sign up and hit it in the garage. It was the house there with a garage. I get to the Marriott. Arnold said, we used to hustle the Marriott. We used to go there 6 o'clock every morning. They thought we were staying there. We used to drink coffee and everything. But we used to go there to strategize the day. So my strategy that morning with Arnold was, Arnold, are you fucking blind? Okay. That was the start of, okay. So eventually we got the broker. 10 o'clock in the morning we had a deal, and we had it tied up.
Jesus Christ. Now give some context here. This is the savings and loan crisis, right? This is the 90s? When is this?
This was 23 years ago.
Oh, this is early 2000s. .com bubble. 2000, 2001.
Right.
Oh, wow. So not cell phones aren't really a thing. I mean, they're not.
Well, maybe it's 23, maybe 24 years, something like that.
Yeah. So no cell phones, no properties on the internet, really. The internet's not even around. It's just a sign in the ground. You rip it out, which, by the way, you're hustling the Marriott going for free coffee every morning.
We get free coffee at Marriott.
So pull the sign.
You have to be resourceful.
Listen, I hope everybody listening understands that. It's funny.
I'm giving away these secrets,
We'll leave a Venmo or an address, a P.O. box to start sending you cash or, tips here. So you rip the sign out of the ground. You call up the broker. You put the deal together. You send a bad check as the deposit money.
We gave the check to the broker. It was a bad fucking check.
Wow. Did he catch it or what? Did you scramble to find the money?
I can't bring it to the finish line somehow or another with Arnold.
Yep.
I did my job.
Yeah. You're the deal guy. Put it together. Arnold, you're tapping him in. He's in.
So how Arnold jumped around, begged, borrowed, steal, and got the money to make deposit. And then further, now we got to close the deal. Mm-hmm. We don't have a tenant. We don't have any money. We don't have nothing.
Yep.
Arnold talks the owner into giving us a mortgage at the closing for the entire amount.
No way. Oh, so you got a seller finance deal. The owner gave you a mortgage, held a note.
He didn't have to.
Yeah.
He didn't have to. We didn't make that deal. But Arnold, through Arnold's good offices, he was unbelievable.
That is awesome.
Now, CVS comes along.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this is the coup de grace. So we're sitting talking to CVS, and they said, I said, we'll give you a land lease. We're not going to build a building. We'll give you the land lease. We couldn't build a building. We didn't have any money. So they said, well, how much do you want for a land lease? Now, right at the time, was it 23, 24 years ago? Arnold put a number on the table. I almost fainted. The amount of money he wanted. I have to tell you, I almost fainted. They said, okay.
No way.
Yeah. So
and
now, this is another thing. Now at the moment, I have zero credit. Mm-hmm. I have zero assets. I own nothing.
Yeah.
My house was always in my wife's name, and they're coming after that too, because I had her sign. I was in an enormous amount of trouble. Enormous amount of trouble. Arnold got me lawyers and stuff. I can go on and on and on. Anyway, we got CVS. Arnold goes to this bank and says, listen, we got CVS, here's the lease. We own the property. We need a mortgage to close to take this guy out and all that. So the banker says to Arnold, okay, Arnold, we're going to do it. So then the banker calls up Arnold and says, under one condition, we want Ralph Roballey on that mortgage with you. Arnold says, are you kidding? He has, we don't give a shit. We want him on that mortgage. So I go get his accountant, does a financial statement on me, all zeros. There wasn't one thing on that financial statement that didn't have a zero. And they accepted it. 20 years later, 15 years later, my sister calls me up. She says, Ralph, there's a lot of houses it's such a great time to buy. I'm doing pretty good now. And, you should be buying some of these houses. I says, Jerry, nobody's going to give me a mortgage. Who the fuck is going to give me a mortgage after what I've been through? She says, well, give me your Social Security number. Let me check your credit. I had an 840 credit score. Why? Because CVS, the payments to CVS were to the minute every month. You understand? Now Arnold's pissed off. I got a better credit score than he's got.
Oh, God. That is awesome. And you guys still own that piece.
Oh, I will never sell. We get an inquiry once every 2 days.
To sell that.
Yeah. Now, the criteria, I hope Terry Blake is listening, the criteria for a standalone retail, the ultimate criteria is corner property, light control, traffic control on the corner.
Yep.
We got a corner property. We got traffic control on the corner. We got traffic control to the left rear of the property, a light. We got another traffic control light to the right rear of the property. We got 3 lights around the property. The traffic count is the highest traffic count in the town of Stratford or Trumbull, right there in that corner. So I never was interested in a deal, let's say a 4 or 5, at the time of a 5%
Yeah. Cap rate or something?
cap rate.
Yeah.
I says, fuck them. I said, if they want the corners very valuable, throw the friggin' drugstore off the property. I could sell the fucking corner for $4 million. I'm not bullshit.
I believe you.
I could, okay.
Yeah.
So I was never interested. So the property is an annuity for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you always say, when what do you do for work?
I do nothing and I'm good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good at it.
And you've got freedom because of that property and a couple others you have.
You don't have to be wealthy. You need passive income.
Mm-hmm.
And if you spend every dime of it, but the first of every month you get another check, I mean,
Yeah, who gives...
Yeah.
How'd you get started in real estate? You're in the Navy.
I walked out of Africa. I had super seniority. I'm a union officer.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like going to jail every day.
Yep.
I couldn't take it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had dear friends. A lot of them were supervisors, and they were great guys. And I gave one of them, all my credentials. I says, I'm out of here. And he didn't believe me. He grabbed them all. He says, you're full of shit and all of that, you know.
Spur of the moment. You walk out.
Yeah. Kind of did that all my life, you know. Called me up a week later. He says, where are you? I says, what the fuck, Gene? I told you a week ago. He says, I'm carrying you on sick leave, you asshole. Get in here and you got. So I had to go back in here and check out, you know, to protect him. You know?
Yes. That's awesome that you did that.
Yeah.
So how do you get started in the real estate business?
Well, my wife says, why don't you try real estate?
Mm-hmm.
I says, okay, I got a license.
Yep.
I went to work for this outfit, small outfit. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And Johnny DeLucia, Tommy's brother, you know, I called him up. He was in the business.
Yeah.
Okay. And he says, well, put your hat and coat on, Ralph, because you don't have anything to sell. Go out there and try to find somebody who'll hire you to sell his house, which I did. That was the greatest advice I could ever have had. And I started to list property and knock on doors and all of that. And I listed a property. This old man had a house, 2-family house, and a lot next to it. And I sold the house and lot. I sold the house and then a lot to a builder, and I got tied up with him, and I wound up in the development end of the business.
Yeah.
And it's a two-edged sword. I think I would have been happier if I stayed in the residential business because I loved the people. And I loved the neighborhoods going through, you know, and offered them the best advice I could and all of that. And the development business is rather hectic, but the rewards are pretty strong when you strike it right, you know. And
so how did you get business in the residential side? Let's talk about that for a bit, and then we'll get into development.
well, I don't think it was appropriate to go ahead and knock on people's doors and violate their privacy.
Yep.
And I had to be creative because I had a wife and 3 kids, and she couldn't work. She was very sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to find a way to earn a living, you know. So I used to go through the neighborhoods. If it was in the wintertime and somebody was shoveling snow, I'd stop the car. I'd say, geez, I said, you own this house. Now, the guy would talk to me because I'd give him a reason to stop shoveling,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Or if a woman was walking with her baby carriage, I'd say, geez, you live in a neighborhood and all. You know. And these were the sensational questions I asked them. I says, and I had so much fun with them, you know. Let's say to a guy, let's say it was cutting the grass or something. Geez, you own this house? He says, no, what do you think? I cut grass for a living? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had a lot.
Yeah.
But I never knocked on doors. And there was a specific instance where I should knock on a door, I would.
Yep.
It says, would you consider selling this house? He says, where the hell would I go if I sold the house? I said, if I had the answer to that question, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I says, listen. He'd say, how much do you think the house is worth? And frankly, I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground. Which is good. Because every time you think you know what the fuck you're doing, you don't. And I found out most of the time, that people, they know what their house is worth. They know the markets.
Yeah.
Because their life's blood is in it.
Yeah.
They said, well, what do you think it's worth? They would ask me. I said, I don't know, but it looks like it's worth an awful lot of money. You know?
What an answer.
Then they would say, this was the $64,000 question. Do you know of anybody in the neighborhood that's thinking about selling their house?
Mm.
And they all knew what everybody was doing. And it was very helpful, and I made an awful lot of, a lot of people hired me to sell their house.
Wow.
Then I wound up in the commercial end, you know, when people weren't buying houses. I got tied up with Arnold, and and we did. I put together the deal where Terry Blake lives, right on the water, the 100 condos and the boat slips.
Okay, wait. We're gonna come back to that because I want to hear that. But let's talk about the development. So you find a duplex, you sell it, you get a piece of land, you sell that to a builder, developer. How do you, so take us from there. What happens? How do you get in the development side of the business from there?
He had a real estate company he wanted me to run. He had two real estate companies, one commercial, one residential. So I went to work for him, and I put together, one of the deals I put together was the, what the hell's the name of it? I can't even think of the name of it. It's, no, it's Terry Blake knows the name.
I was going to say, it's one of those fun, you know, you forgot more about real estate than any of us will ever know.
The guy, you know, he owned the property, and there's a family, through the family and all of that. And I caught him at a critical time because it was a cove there, and he was in the process of filling it in. He was going to fill it in so he could store more boats on the land. I says, "Are you?"
Oh, this is in Stratford, this deal.
Stratford, right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Down Sniffin's Lane.
Yep.
And he did business with the guy that I was working for, who will remain nameless, because he knew that the guy that I was working for could get the permits. It was a huge political problem.
Yes.
And that's why it wasn't that they were kissing cousins.
Yeah.
It's that he knew that he could get the permits.
He was the guy to get the job done.
On the other, you know, I'm going to leave it at that.
Gotcha. The business was boom and bust, right? The development business?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You said you've made a lot of money in the development business. But you also spent a lot of money, right?
Frankly, I have no idea what I did with the money. But I did make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about some fees.
Yeah.
I did the deal for my brother because he was my brother, and they gave me $500,000.
For Tommy?
I did a deal for my brother. I set him up with a partner and all of that. I worked on a lease for him at the World Trade Center before it was knocked down, all that. I did not do it for a fee. I did it for my brother. Mm-hmm. And him and his partner gave me $500,000.
Jesus.
That's one fee. I did a... I used to love people, you know. I make friends with them. You know.
Hold off on the fees because I want to talk about the big Y deal in Shelton a little bit later. We're going to come back to that because that's a funny story.
I don't know what the fuck's so funny about it.
Your brother Tommy, you guys grow up a year apart, right? You're like what?
14 months.
14 months. Me and Vito are 16, and we're very close. I can only imagine you and Tommy are 14. Your brother was kind of straight edged until he, right? Wasn't he growing up or no?
Substantially different personality than me.
I didn't want to say that, but yeah. So he goes to Manhattan. You told me he was straight edge, never drank. 6 months after being in Manhattan, he's a 2 martini a day lunch guy at lunch.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he borrowed some money from me. He went to a business. He was doing I don't know what Tom says, a bullshit business.
Yeah.
When Madison Square Garden approached him. Mm-hmm. So he said, I don't know what to do because I'm starting this business. I said, this is a no-brainer. You got to go.
Is he older or younger than you? Is he older or younger than you?
older.
Okay.
So he went. So,
To MSG.
yeah.
What was his role at Madison Square Garden?
He started out, I don't know what they brought him. The reason why they brought him there was they wanted to go into the bowling business underneath the main arena. And the Pin Spotter Corporation that they were going to use the facility to build it out said, you got to hire Tom Roballey because he made design changes on these machines and this, that, and the other shit. So they went, they got my brother, they hired my brother. And,
Yeah.
Okay. He since went from that point to senior executive because what he was a bottom line specialist. All the departments that they put under his control made money. He was
Yeah.
and so, he was very successful. He eventually retired from there when the Port Authority made a move at him to do a deal with him. Is when I got involved, put together with a money partner and all of that, and and they opened up a big sports bar and all this other shit on the second floor of the bus station in Manhattan, Port Authority bus station.
Yep. Wow. So he leaves MSG to open up that bar.
Kind of retired because what they were gonna redesign the garden and all of that. And he didn't want to get caught up in it, so he retired and went into business for himself.
Awesome. Do you have any good stories of Tommy, you, MSG?
Well, you want me to tell you the story about it?
Yeah, I want you to tell.
So the phone rang. I hated New York. I hated to go to New York to this day. Okay? The people live like rats, in my opinion.
Yep.
He says, listen, the Knicks are in a playoff game. Why don't you come down, watch the game, we'll go have dinner. I figure everything's on his dime. I'm in. So I go there. I'm right down on the court. I'm watching the game. He comes down from his office. He says, look, forget the game. The game's in the fourth quarter. He says, come with me.
What is it now? What quarter is it? The
first quarter.
Oh, he's like, nothing happens till the fourth quarter anyways.
He says, come with me. I'm going to show you something. I didn't know it at the time, but I probably saved his life because he was enthralled by these Bengal tigers. They had paws like this. And he used to, when they were sleeping, he used to pet their paws. And I used to go down there.
So this is what, under the garden?
Underneath the main arena is Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus. They're going to open up tomorrow in the main arena.
Oh, my God.
Okay?
Yep.
So we go through. You got to understand, so we looked alike.
Yep.
So we go through, and there's a cage about this high.
Yeah.
With the bars, and there's a black panther, and he's laying down, and I bent down to admire him. I mean, he was magnificent, and I think he was just playing. You understand? But the hand is quicker than the eye,
Yeah.
And he caught me inside the nose, and my brother pulled my shoulders, and it's blowing over.
Oh, God.
So,
the game's going on upstairs.
He says, Ralphie. He takes me in. There's a little hospital area underneath the main arena. He takes me in and he calls a fucking doctor up on the court, the Nick doctor. The doctor comes down. He says, Tommy, I was never here. He says, don't worry about it. It's my brother. Fucking stitch him up and get him the fuck out of here. Which he does. I got bandages.
Yeah.
He says, when you get back to Bridgeport, you go to emergency hospital, get a tetanus shot immediately. 3 o'clock in the morning. Bridgeport Hospital.
Wait, so you don't see the end of the game?
I don't see shit. I got bandages on my fucking face. I just got clawed by a leopard. Okay? You can't make this shit up. Okay? I'm sitting in an emergency room. One nurse, there's one light hanging. She's typing this fucking drug guy.
Yeah.
It's a disgusting place. She says, next. Name. What happened? Says, I got clawed by a leopard. She stops. Tonight's the night. So, I got a tetanus shot and all of that. So now, fast forward, I'm sitting in the grill room in Mill River. And I'm talking to Harold Rosnick about the situation. I didn't know Harold at the time. So I said to Harold, if I knew you, I said, because this is how I figure it.
What year is this? When is this?
How the hell do I know?
You 40, 50, 60?
I'm 50. I guess I'm 50.
50-ish at the time?
Something like that.
Okay, all right. So it's like 35 years ago, 30 years ago maybe. Okay.
And Harold right now is one of my dearest friends.
Yes.
Okay.
Hal is an attorney. So you're talking to Hal at the grill room, Mill River.
Yeah. I tell him a story. He says, first of all, I said, because I says, Harold, if I knew you then, I would have handled it different.
Yeah.
I would have said, I went into the area. They thought I was my brother. I didn't know, you understand, and so on and so forth and so on. I would have made the front page, not the back sports page, the front page of the New York Post and the New York News. Knick fan gets clawed by a leopard. I says, Harold, what's that worth in personal injury? You understand? I said, to extrapolate it out a little further, maybe Johnny Carson's people would have called me up and said, geez, Johnny would like to interview. You understand? I could have been a fucking movie star. I could have hit the big time. He says, well, first of all, he says, you didn't get clawed by a leopard. I says, are you telling me what? He says, I'm your lawyer now, right? He says, yeah, you didn't get clawed by a leopard. I said, then what happened to me, Harold? He says, you got mauled by a leopard. Okay? I didn't realize I got mauled by a leopard. Okay? So these are the mistakes that I made in life. You got me? I could have had hundreds of millions.
Wouldn't be sitting here, though.
Absolutely not.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
that is funny. Any other? That's a
and
good.
Certainly, I mean, I would have never made a move and hurt my brother in any way. You know,
of course. Yeah. Any other good stories? MSG, you, him?
Oh, I embarrassed my brother had the most famous people were close friends to my brother in basketball and hockey. You know, all of them.
Yep.
You know, and he would he introduced me to this Hall of Fame hockey player. I don't even remember. Well, I never followed hockey. Yeah. So he introduced me to him, and I said, what'd you say your name was again? I mean, what the fuck? I didn't know who he was. You understand what I'm saying?
That's so funny. Jeez.
But I hated to go to New York. I really did.
Yeah, so you didn't go often.
No.
Was there any good stories? Did you say anything about Vegas and him or no?
Where?
Vegas.
Well, I called him up once. You know, I used his juice. You know? I says, I want to take my wife to Las Vegas. I'm not juiced in there, So he said, I'll call you back. He says, going to Caesar's Palace. Just walk in and say, Ralph. We get there. I walk in. It says, Ralph, Mr. R. Mr. R. I had a suite. I had a butler. It was unbelievable. Anyway, it was maybe 30 years later.
Yeah. It's you and your wife go, right?
Just me and my wife.
Yep.
30 years later. Mm-hmm. My wife said to me, she never said a word to me. 30 years later, she said to me, she says, when you took me to Caesar's Palace, she says, I thought I died and went to heaven. It was so unbelievable. It was so unbelievable.
Yeah.
I never put my hand in my pocket once.
Everything was taken care of.
Unbelievable. They had They had a restaurant there called the Bacchanal. I don't know if it's still there. I'm going there in a couple of months. If it's
I'll come with you.
If it's still there,
Yeah.
it was a replica of where Caesar would have dinner. Mm-hmm. All the waiters had sacks of wine, different wine.
Yeah.
Not sacks.
Yep.
And all the waiters were opera singers. And it was a 25-course dinner.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. You didn't order anything. It was a 25-course dinner.
Jesus.
I mean, today, it would probably cost, $500 a head, it would seem to me.
Mm.
I got goblets today from,
Yeah.
It's just once in a lifetime kind of thing.
Of course. So you and your brother were close.
Yeah. He never turned his back on me. And, like, for instance, I called him up one Saturday night. I said, Tommy, I need $10,000 right now. Don't ask me what I need it for. He says, are you crazy? He says, what makes you think I keep that kind of money around the house? I says, well, how much you got? 400. I says, I'll take it. The fucking.
That is unreal.
What are brothers for?
Yeah. That is so funny. Where did he live in Connecticut?
Lived in Stratford.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, and he'd commute down to Manhattan?
He didn't have to punch a clock. Sometimes he'd get there at 12, 1,
Yeah. That's all. Was he a Mill River guy?
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. I didn't know that. Do you have any pictures with him hanging around the office? Or Mill River? Is there anything on the walls there?
Geez, but guys have pictures of them. I was never one to take pictures.
Yeah.
Frankly, on that, I was never one to memorialize my life.
Mm.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have no pictures from the Navy. None.
Wow.
I think I might have one.
Yeah.
And guys in my outfit were taking pictures all the time. I never took any pictures,
I got a question. Let's talk about the 100 boat slip deal. You remember putting that one together?
What's that?
The boat slip deal. Where TB was that an interesting deal you put together? Or
Well, it really wasn't. In other
Yeah.
words, I had a habit of approaching people that no one would approach.
Really?
And make a very simple gesture. Would you consider selling the property?
Mm.
I would even go further and tell them why I asked them the question and tell them what I really thought the property was worth and why.
Yeah.
I was, truth be told, I was very disarming because I would tell them everything that I know. I'll give you an example. Let's say I was looking at this property and I was talking to the farmer. I said, listen, would you consider selling this property? And then I would go further and say, I'm going to tell you why I'm asking. I think, I'm not sure, that it was at one time an Indian reservation. And if I'm right, probably it's worth probably a couple of $100 million. In other words, I would never, ever try to exploit a landowner, ever. He would know everything that I knew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you told me that you always said with landowners, you always wanted to pay them what they wanted for their property. Whatever they thought it was worth, you would, pay.
Because
within reason.
I thought the land, me and Harold Rosinger, Arnold Peck, we did a deal. We did a Walgreens on Park Avenue, Fairfield Avenue in Bridgeport.
Yep.
And the landowner was a member of the Mill River Country Club. He was a doctor.
No way.
His father left it to him and all of that.
And how'd that deal happen?
I said, would you consider selling the property? He says, I want $3 million for it. I says, okay.
And you put the deal together?
Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah. That's a great deal, too. Corner of Park Ave, Washington, and Fairfield Ave. You guys still own that CVS, right?
So, it's not a CVS.
Walgreens. Yeah. Walgreens.
I went to New York, and I was talking to the real estate manager for the East Coast of the United States for Walgreens. Real estate development.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I'd like to tell you something. I says, I'm nobody. I want you to know that up front.
Yeah.
I'm not juiced into anybody. I got a property, and that if you see it, you're going to want to put it in, and I made the deal.
That's awesome. Talk about the deal of the Big Y in Shelton.
Here again,
And I want to preface that because not only do I want to know about the deal, because I think it's a great story about relationships. Because you've always.
My point is this: in the business of real estate development, in the business of fellowship at, let's say, Mill River Country Club, in the business of life, especially in this business, trust is the coin of the realm. And if people called me up, it wasn't that they thought I had a head full of brains, but if they asked me to do something, they knew that I could get the answers for them, number one. And number two, they trusted me.
Yeah.
So when that phone rang, it was because I had developed a very close friendship with the lawyer that was representing the people that owned that property, and they didn't want to sell it.
Yep.
And they thought, in a meeting in Westport, they thought that I could go to them, their lawyer, who was a dear friend of mine, and see if I could make a deal. And the people that asked me, the person that asked me, was a dear, dear, dear friend of mine. And again, I was absolutely going to do it, number one, and I was not going to do it for any fees. You understand?
Yeah.
So I went to their lawyer, who will remain nameless. And he says, I think I can work out a deal, Ralph, but I won't do it except in one circumstances. What's that? He says, they're going to have to pay you $200,000. I said to him, so-and-so, I'm not here. I'm not trying to earn. He says, I don't give a fuck what you're trying to do. He says, I'll be your business manager. And he put the deal together. He made the deal, and they cut me a check for $200,000.
You didn't do anything besides match them up.
I didn't do shit. And the reason for it is there was a person in it, first of all, and a lot of other things happened in the deal where other people jumped in the deal to help finance the deal, so on and so forth. My effort, as little as it was, helped to form the capital to get the deal done.
Wow.
Without going into detail because it's a private matter.
Of course.
Okay.
But I love how that talks about the relationship of you with an attorney, with the buyers, to put a deal together. They came to you.
Yeah. But look, I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
It's your reputation. In other words, either you're a man of honor or you're not. Either you're a man of your word or you're not.
Yeah.
I did the best I can toward both of those ends. But if you're strictly chasing money, you're going to wind up on empty.
Yeah.
If you're not a kind, good person and approach business to make sure everybody at the table gets taken care of properly, and so, you're going to wind up on empty. Even if you hit the big time, you're going to live an empty life.
Yeah. I love talking to you about that.
Yeah.
You say it's not at the end of you're 84, 85 in a month. When's your birthday? November?
That's December 9th.
December 9th. Okay. Well, really like 6 weeks. It's not really a month, but we'll give you that. No.
I lied.
But you always say, chasing the dollar isn't worth it. And this is, one thing. I'm talking to John DeMatti. We're having lunch a couple weeks ago. And he says, the one thing you have that I didn't have when I was your age, 25, 26 years old, is perspective. And he goes, you go around, you talk to a lot of older guys, get an idea of what they're thinking, kind of the conversations you and I have. And I talk about debt, leverage, real estate, putting deals together. That's great. But talking about at the end of the day, when you're 85 years old, you're not going to care about the money. You're going to care about two things you say. Do you want to, I remember what they were.
I'm telling you something, and when you're in the rocking chair at the end of your life, you're going to hold dear to you not the victories, not the money. You're going to hold dear to you the struggle.
Yeah.
You're going to hold dear to you those who struggled with you. You're going to win and lose, but you're going to hold dear to you the struggle. And those that struggled with you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, John DiMatteo, very, very smart man, very intelligent on business matters, very adverse to risk. I can go on at the names of other people that I've met. Very adverse to risk.
Yeah.
You're not. You got to get your ass handed to you a couple of times before you become adverse to risk. You know. How many mortgages do I have? I made the decision, let's say, 24, 25 years ago, to stop borrowing money. I have at the present time, nobody 10 cents. There's no mortgages on any property that I own or I'm associated with.
Yeah.
Even people that are adverse to risk told me to remortgage, let's say, CVS.
Yeah.
I refused to do it. When people of serious reputation told Arnold that they told me, because Arnold, I refused to do it because of what I went through.
Gotcha. Well, I've taken debt out, and obviously I feel like you do need to go through some things you have to learn the hard way, but conversations I have, I'm trying to frame my mindset of like slowing it down, paying down debt, and going, and not debt like credit card debt, I don't have any of that, but the debt on investment properties, and like, how can I start chipping away at this sooner? Because I want to be in a position in 5-6 years where, you know, a couple of these are paid off, in a really good spot to take advantage. God forbid something happens.
What happens if you're in real good shape?
Yeah.
And you're driving down Fairfield Beach and you see signs that say, now you're in good shape now, for sale bank owned. For sale bank owned. All around.
Yep.
You can't approach a bank if your credit's shot because you got yourself in trouble. Now it's giveaway time. And all these banks want to do is get this inventory out of their hands. You understand?
Yeah.
And you can't take advantage. As a matter of fact, you're in trouble yourself.
Yeah.
So all the good times, geez, you know, forget about it.
Yep.
You have Al Lenosi, the best deal maker in the history of real estate. He saved his money because this was a lifelong dream when he was a kid. He saved his money till he had $1 million in the bank. Didn't realize that it was a huge strategy on his part because he wasn't very intellectual.
Yeah.
You know, he was a street guy.
Yeah.
But his dream was to have $1 million in the bank. So now the shit hit the fan. The real estate market came apart. But Alfred had $1 million in the bank. And he was buying deals for a dime on a dollar, and he was bullshitting banks into giving them financing, which you could do. And he got really unbelievably wealthy because he wanted to have $1 million in the bank. And so the moral of the story is, it wasn't that he was doing it as a strategy. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Gaetano?
Yes.
You know, I mean, could he make a deal? And was his timing good? He was totally unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How long? 2 years since he's passed?
Something like that, yeah.
So I'm 26. I was 20 years old. I went to Fordham, freshman, sophomore year, live on campus. Junior year, I live on campus for the first semester. Then I go to study abroad in London. Senior year, I don't live at campus. I live at home. I have a full-time offer going back to do bond trading at Citigroup in Manhattan. So I'm like, I don't want to go to class. What am I going to do? My mom says, get licensed with your dad. So I start working at AFC Mortgage Group. And I'd skip all my classes. I was supposed to commute to class. I went to 10 of them the whole year. I had a 1.3 GPA, which is pretty much on the verge of failing. But every Wednesday and every other Friday, I'd go twice a week probably. I'd go and I'd sit down and have lunch at Mill River with Alanosi. He'd be there, just him and me. And he was older, and he was a little more forgetful, you know. But we would talk about real estate. I didn't know who he was at the time. I just knew his name was Al. He'd go over to the phone, the dial phone that he had. He'd, plug in the numbers. He'd call up the guys to come play cards. But those were some of the best lunches I've ever had.
What we used to do as kids,
Yeah.
used to buy him a new Mercedes every year.
Who? Him.
Him.
Oh.
The kids used to buy him.
Yeah.
He'd go pick it up. He'd call the kid over. He said, he'd give the kid $20. He says, listen, put the radio at 88, the local station, 880 or whatever it was, or the Bridgeport local station.
Yeah.
Fix the radio and fix the radio to this music, and that's it. He didn't know how to operate the car. Do you understand what I'm saying? He didn't know shit.
Yeah.
And the only thing he ever loved to do is go to Mill River, line up a gin game, play gin. Which, but as a real estate developer, as a player, in a very tough industry in so many different ways, he was the best I ever knew. Mm. The wild man of all time, the guy with such energy, which I think is a form of genius. Mm. In other words, Arnold Peck can go day and night, deal after deal after deal after deal. Mm-hmm. And it certainly will, and it's his golf game. So, he had more energy than anybody I ever met.
That's Arnold Peck.
Arnold Peck, yeah. To this day.
He's still trying to do deals.
Let's say the phone. I said, Arnold, turn that freaking phone off. We're having lunch or something.
Yeah.
But if he sees the phone ring, he says, I got to go to the bathroom. He go in the bathroom and take the call. He loves it. It's like he's going to make a hole in one.
He's a deal junkie.
Yeah. He's so lovable. I mean, in so many ways,
Yeah.
And so generous. Mm. But you can walk in his office if you're down on your luck and say, Arnold, I know you don't know who I am, but I'm down on my luck, and I was told that if I came here, you would help me. He'd help you. Mm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's the best.
What about...
So now this begs the question.
You go ahead.
What the fuck am I doing here? Why am I here? Who gives a fucking rat's ass about what I did?
I took a poll.
I'm not even a speck on the ass of some brilliant people that I've met. But you know what I mean? What?
Not to say that I'm the unofficial mayor of Mill River, because that title might be yours, but I did a poll of who I should have on first from Mill River. And, I don't know, I asked probably 100 people. And about 99 of them said you.
I hope, for the club's sake, that there's a lot of great guys there.
Yep.
And they go there for privacy. Mm-hmm. And they're wonderful people. They're great lawyers and doctors with credentials, unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And I hope that anything I said didn't cast any aspersions on it, because I certainly not want to do that,
100%. You talk about the two things at the end of life, love and fellowship. And you made a joke about my dad bringing cookies every Wednesday, Friday. That's...
No, I mean, you could bring cookies. But do the fucking cookies have to be this big? Where the fuck do you buy cookies that are this big? Yeah. They're bigger than pancakes. Yeah. He said they're cookies.
Yeah.
Each one of them has 40,000 calories. Everybody in the card room's as fat as this bastard, and they wonder fucking why. That's it. All right? And your father being a man of very few words, you can't get shit out of him.
How the hell did I turn out like this if my dad doesn't say shit?
It's your mother. It's your mother.
You don't even know her.
I met her once.
Oh, okay. I mean, they're both fantastic. Yeah. They're unbelievable. My dad, quiet soft-spoken, loved by many. You said why you're here. It's because, not to say to memorialize your life, but in 20 or 30 years, I go to Mill River. I don't play golf as much anymore as I used to. I used to play 70 to 100 rounds a year. Now this year I didn't play one at Mill River, but I'd go play cards, hang out. You hear stories about Alanosi, about, Arganese, about guys back in the day.
Ralph Arganese was the sweetheart of all time. Wonderful person. For him to get this terrible disease at a young age, it was just a sweetheart. Matter of fact, the history of Mill River is full of wonderful, caring people that help one another. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
How wonderful the club is. I call it, they should put a big sign up at Mill River saying, this is the place. Because if you get a membership there, it will enhance your life.
Mm-hmm.
Without question. Why don't you ask your father that?
100% it's true. He's there 4 times a week during the summer.
Yeah.
I'd say one of the best moments of the year is Freddie K member guest weekend. You're there 4 days in a row. All the guys are there. It's unbelievable. Even go on a Wednesday, Friday night, card room. Fantastic time.
Well, Doc Cavalier is my doctor.
Yep.
And it was through him I met his son, and his son extraordinary.
No way. That's his son?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. And I lived pretty much from the beginning. I was the first person he trained.
No way.
Everybody says John Ruby was. I was the first person that he trained.
Yep.
I mean, I certainly don't look it. but my point is, Jeffrey Cavalier, extraordinary journey to where he is today. Extraordinary.
Yep. That's awesome.
He does podcasts every week.
He's Athlete X on Twitter. He's a big, not Twitter, YouTube. Very big.
Yeah.
I would love to know, because I thought this was the interesting thing. Copacabana. Where was that? New York City?
New York City. No Vegas at the time. If you were a headliner, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, you played the nightclubs in New York. And the biggest nightclub in New York, now you could look into history, was the Copacabana. And I was there every Friday night with my wife.
No friggin' way.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Oh, you would go down every weekend, almost.
Yeah, on a Friday night. Friday night was the mob took their girlfriends.
Yep.
Saturday night they took their wives. Nothing to do with me, you understand.
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so they'd go back-to-back nights, bring the girlfriend, the Goomba.
Unbelievable. Well, it was very quaint. It was very, the tables were like this. I mean, in other words, Paul Anka I'd be sitting here, he'd be up about to the wall there singing.
Wow.
It was very, intimate.
You remember Goodfellas when Liotta goes down through the kitchen, giving people, here's 100, keep the ice cold kind of thing? Was that what the tables look like? Like that?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Country was substantially different.
Yeah.
And I would be remiss if I didn't say to you that I loved our country more than I do now. And when I was in the Mediterranean, just after World War II, everybody loved Americans. It was unbelievable. I mean, we pulled into Piraeus in Greece, the hugs and kisses. You got to understand that the Nazis murdered in Greece the entire Jewish community. I just think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that when we pulled into it was unbelievable,
That's great because this is 1952 to 55. It's 7 years after World War II. You're going to these places.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the American.
And then you want to know something? When you're 18 years old.
Yeah.
18. I mean, you don't really realize this shit, You realize it years later. I didn't realize how much the Navy meant to me until long after I left.
Yeah. You still ever talk to anyone you served with?
Stay in touch with them all the time. My pilot, I talk to all the time, and the kid that I flew with, Jewish kid out of Brooklyn. I'll give you an example. He's from Brooklyn. We served him together. We were both electricians. We were both second-class petty officers. I don't know if you know what that rank is. That's equal to a staff sergeant. I was a second-class petty officer when I was 19.
Wow.
Okay. So we served together. He got out a little bit ahead of me and so on. And he moves to California. Under the GI Bill, he gets a he learns how to fly.
Yep.
Gets a pilot's license. He's flying movie stars around California. And then he's flying crop dusters for farmers and stuff like that. And then clear blue sky maybe 8 years ago, and he calls me up. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I moved to Florida." I said, "What the fuck did you do a stupid thing like that for?" He said, "I couldn't take Southern California anymore. What's going on there with the open borders, the taxes? You understand?"
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it occurred to you, but it certainly occurred to me. In other words, if I'm walking down the street and you observe me, it's obvious to me that I'm on in years.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're older than me.
It goes way beyond that.
Oh, wiser, you mean? Yes.
No.
Oh.
I'm on in years, physically.
Yes.
You saw me walking down the street.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on in years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid to walk down the street in my own neighborhood today. Okay? Because it's obvious that I'm on in years and that I'm very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's not how this country is supposed to. People are supposed to live in this country. And if I feel that way, hundreds of millions of people feel that way.
Yeah.
People are brazenly. And every time somebody gets arrested for stealing cars and stuff, he's got a rap sheet 20 miles long. When I was a kid, if you got arrested, I got arrested for loitering. We were standing on the corner strapping, my father made us spend a night in jail.
No way.
Yeah. And when the mob control things, let's say, for instance, what do you think the crime rate was in 1950 on Mulberry Street in New York?
I'm guessing low. I don't know.
Low? There was no crime rate. Because if you committed a crime on Mulberry Street and the mob controlled things, they didn't get lawyers. You didn't stand in front of no judge. You got eliminated.
Yep.
Okay. So when justice is sure and swift, there's peace. Justice is not sure and swift anymore. And people that have committed and continually commit violent crimes are still in the street. There's no cash bail. I mean, the people that put that together were highly intellectual, so I have to give that a lot of thought, no cash bail.
Yep. That doesn't make sense.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Listen, a lot of things don't make sense to me today. Maybe it's age-related, but I loved the country more back then.
Yeah.
How many more fucking questions you want to ask me?
This is the longest episode I've done, but I could talk to you all day, but we'll keep it short. Your thoughts on a bucket list?
I never had one. I really never did. There's a couple of, over the last month, 2 questions were asked of me, and one of them, what's on your bucket list? And I forgot what the other one was. It was extraordinary. Nobody ever asked me the question before. You know.
Your answer to me was, I don't have one. If I want to do something, I fucking do it.
You know, and in other words, Arnold keeps breaking my balls. Ralph, let's go here. He's full of energy.
Yeah.
He's unbelievably full of energy. Let's go here. Go, no. What? It's because I don't want to go.
Yeah.
The older you get, the closer to home I think you want to stay. But I'm going to Vegas.
Yep.
I'm forcing myself to go. I hope I have a decent time. I don't know, but I'm going to take the shot.
When is it? And who are you going with?
I'm going with him.
Okay.
We're leaving on the 8th.
Of December?
December, yeah.
Oh, it's for your birthday.
I'm going to spend my birthday there, yeah.
Fantastic. Where are you staying?
He's making the arrangements. I have no idea. I don't personally give a shit.
Yeah. Advice for people in the real estate business today when they say there's no inventory.
Without mentioning any names, you know, nobody's doing anything. This person who remained nameless, who runs this agency, she says there's no inventory. I said, what the fuck are you doing about it? Are you in the neighborhoods?
Yeah.
Trying to talk to people and find out what they're doing? Are you trying to develop an inventory? And the answer to that question is no. I'll tell you what I told her. I says, I think what a good idea is, why don't you go to a certain town, to the senior citizen center? I'll guarantee you 50% of the people in the senior center that own houses, at least 50, 60%, are thinking about selling their house. I don't really give a shit what you do, but nobody in the real estate business, agents
Yeah.
per se,
Yeah.
are doing anything. 90% of all the deals are made by 10% of the brokers, agents.
Yeah. It'll always be like that.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
You can't go back in time questioning if I took a right here instead of a left.
Well, frankly, I shouldn't make light of this to my Jewish friends because we have a Jewish contingency at Mill River, and they're the most wonderful people of all time. You know, if the Jews took a right turn instead of a left turn, they'd have all the oil, the air. You understand? But and who told me that was Louis Gladstone, who was a memory passed away. What's a total sweetheart who says, Ralph, if the Jews took a left turn instead of a right, they'd have all the oil. I said, I never thought of that.
This was fun. Hey.
I enjoyed it.
Oh my God, it was a blast. And I hope, this will be forever for Mill River,